We're on Facebook Live and Twitter with our post show, continuing our discussion about the preview of Super Tuesday. All right, Tatish, you had something?
Yeah, I was just saying the story of 2016 is a story of a few states and the story of low levels of black turnout.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if Hillary Clinton had approximated the level of African-American turnout that Barack Obama had in 2012 and 2008 and had mobilized 88,000 voters in about 6 states, she would be president. And I think the story for the next Democratic nominee is to focus on African-American turnout, get that high, and to focus on the states that matter. And that is it. That is the strategy that the Democratic candidate should take. And Sanders won the states that are important: Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. And so I think that's what the Democratic Party and a number of the members of the electorate see, that this is someone who plays in the states that matter.
So isn't it interesting then that Black Voices for Trump, that is President Trump's new camp outreach to black voters, is doing exactly that. They're concentrating in Florida and Michigan and Pennsylvania, all those battleground states, because he does not have to win any of these communities of color, particularly African Americans. He got 8% overall, 12% of black men. All he has to do is kick up that percentage just this much, and then he's good to go.
That's right, and they're doing it through interesting means. Besides bringing out Kanye West and
Kanye West brought out himself.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not even thinking about, if I can be so crude as to say, they're not even focused so much on the minstrel type of characters like Diamond and Silk. They're focused on trying to formerly incarcerated individuals, for example, and focused on a message of we care about you by supporting programs like the Second Chance program. He's using this the prison program, the former the program that basically grants clemency, I think, to.
I predict in 2016. Donald Trump did terrible in the black community, and he'll do worse in 2020, in my view.
Well, that's interesting, Paul, because I think he might actually succeed in weaning black voters, some black voters.
There's a big difference.
Well, exactly, but I think Callie's point is right. I think if you had 8%, like that basically vote for Donald Trump, you get that up to 10%. I'm not sure what that means, but I know in Wisconsin it would mean a lot. In the state of Wisconsin, I know in the.
But Tatish's point is that for every one of those new voters that's brought out that's going to vote for Trump, there's going to be 1.5 voters that are brought out that didn't vote that are going to vote against Trump. That's the calculus.
If indeed they vote, and I think that will depend, of course, on who the Democratic candidate is, and that's why I think the point about Sanders is really important. Sanders, I think, the notion of having. Of black support is one thing. We're talking about Biden.
Right.
The notion of having black enthusiastic support is another thing. And when I look at Sanders and I see someone with the ability to bring out tens of thousands of people to a rally, I think that matters a lot. Everyone loves a winner.
Yeah.
And those things are contagious. And I think that if he can do that type of thing, for example, in Ohio, in Detroit, my hometown, if he could do that in Detroit, 40,000 people, 20,000 people in Detroit at Cobo Hall, I think that would say a lot in terms of black people. If they haven't thought about Sanders, all of a sudden they're recalibrating. This guy could beat, again, the practical decision. This guy could beat Donald Trump.
And on a one-on-one, it's going to be a comparison. You look at Donald Trump's racial justice agenda, and you look at Bernie Sanders. You look at what Donald Trump has to say about income inequality, and you look at Donald Trump's. You look at health care and so forth. That's where people will see a connection with Bernie Sanders. And on that one, I think for the black American electorate, at least by and large, the choice is very clear. That's what's going to get them excited or committed. And the choice cannot be more stark, in my view, but maybe not. Maybe the atmospherics about Bernie being a socialist and all that. Yeah, but even like health care for all.
Have some impact.
That's going to have some impact.
It's going to be one-on-one. It's Donald Trump's health care plan, whatever the hell it is. And then there's Bernie Sanders, at least talking about having health care as a right for everybody to have, at least as a goal.
Okay, so that brings me to the Facebook question, which is which of the candidates can bring everybody together? Because there's no winning on the Democratic side unless whoever the nominee is, whether you like them or not in the first round, everybody rallies around in a very serious way. Is that possible? And who would you say can do that? And then I have a follow-up because I'm in, with regard to Bernie in this question, but go ahead, anybody.
I'm gonna sound like I work for the campaign.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
I think Bernie is the person that can do this only because we've been in this kind of environment of what we in political science call affective polarization, where you have Democrats and Republicans and they just don't like each other, and it's not about policy, it's not about interpersonal dynamics, it's based off of affect, emotion. Like if you see that a Republican support something, you automatically will not support it because a Republican supports it. Like that's how deep these partisan divides are now. And I think the affective polarization environment is the perfect environment for someone like Bernie, who has no intention whatsoever of crossing the aisle. He's the perfect candidate in this environment where Democrats really want to be Democrats. And Democrats really want to support everything
Except he's
that's
not a Democrat, let me just point out. But go ahead.
Also, excellent point. And the fact that he's also gotten pretty much everyone on the left, in terms of voters, to co-sign on the idea that he is this sort of pure Democrat, sort of anti-Trump, pure Democrat. I think that in and of itself, regardless of policy, I think he's the one who paints the clearest picture of, I'm completely separate from Trump, and if I'm the general election candidate, I'm going to battle with Trump. We're not going to negotiate with him.
Okay, now having said that, there's a lot of stuff going on online about what was called before the Bernie Bros, meaning these are the people that I don't care who, if our guy doesn't win, we're not supporting anybody else. We're done here. And an incident happened online that's gotten quite a bit of traction. I don't know if you all saw it, but an opinion columnist named Blue Telesma, I'm sorry if I'm messing up her last name, just wrote a piece saying, wow, just trying to figure it all out, stuff going on, wondering, but don't know about Bernie. Ava DuVernay responded and say, I'm in the same position. I'm trying to think about it, but I'm not going that way. People lost their minds on her, and not black folks. A lot of white people came at Ava DuVernay and at Blue with some language and some nastiness that is intense. Like all out of their name.
You mean simply because they had not?
Yes, because they said they were not as so. And these clearly fall in line with the kind of Bernie Bros. These weren't all men, I'm just saying. But the attacks on them were intense and deep. And she printed them all and said, okay, do you see, hello, what's this about?
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked about affective polarization, and that's one way of thinking about the dynamics in our political system. Another way to think about it is authoritarianism. So political scientists have been talking about authoritarianism on the right for decades. But I think what we're seeing is the development on the left, in some ways, response to the politics of Donald Trump and some parts of the Republican Party, where folks on the left have a very black and white understanding. They believe in some conspiracies. They believe in the notion that the other side is inherently evil, and any attack on the candidate that they believe is the answer to the question of where the country is going is an attack on them, right? An attack on their own group. And I think we need, as a country, to step away from these types of responses. And as we're seeing, to focus on these responses and ensure that those individuals are brought out and that there's public pressure put on them, because that's not how politics should work in our nation.
But it also doesn't help him. I think,
but he's been silent.
He's actually addressed it, but people don't feel he's addressed it forthrightly. That he's because he says he takes responsibility for these acts, but the supporters of other candidates do it too. That's been his response.
Yeah,
and that's not a full response. But I would say this:
if I must apologize,
if I
offended someone.
Well, it's a little more than that. But I would also say to your question about unity, in spite of that situation, I still think Bernie Sanders would probably, along with Elizabeth Warren, they represent the two candidates the only two I can think of who can actually create enthusiasm among black supporters and among
Got
black
that sexism
voters
going on with
I get it.
Warren.
I get it. I'm not saying sexism. Sexism is going to be a factor, but I think there's also going to be an opportunity and a need for both of these candidates, whoever ascends to the top, to raise a hell of a lot of money, because that money is going to be needed in order to create a message to break through not only the Russian bots and the type
Unless
of
it's Michael Bloomberg, then they ain't about to get raised
but
up.
to break through the extraordinary level of disinformation that's occurring alongside the Bernie Bros, because it's not just Bernie Bros, it's also a lot of disinformation that's out there and misinformation that's out there, and so cutting through this chatter is going to be so difficult. It's going to require a lot of money. And I think those two candidates, someone who could bring, if Bernie Sanders, for example, I've said this, it's amazing the notion of rallies and the notion of having thousands of people at rallies, what difference that makes. It makes a huge difference. Biden, unfortunately, he gets 200 or 300 people per rally. That's not a lot of enthusiasm, and so that translates badly for a general election. For Bernie Sanders, he might get 20,000 people at a rally.
I know,
but that's the thing about a general election.
And that's true. That was true for Elizabeth Warren.
Don't forget that there's an ace in this deck. We are forgetting the ace in the deck, and that person is Barack Obama.
Yes.
Barack Obama has been silent.
Yes.
He has not he has not discussed the Democratic nomination. But those thousands of people will show up for Barack Obama. Those thousands of people will show up for Michelle Obama. And who are those? So when they were in the White House, they couldn't campaign against Trump. They were too busy running the country.
Yeah.
They have a lot of time to go around the country, go to the states that matter. You have Michelle Obama on the ticket. You have Barack Obama on the ticket. You might even have their children making speeches. And that's going to put butts in the seats. That's going to create a level of enthusiasm that the Democratic Party has not seen, and a level of interest regardless of who the candidate is.
That's a very good point.
And that was a Facebook question. What is the impact of Barack Obama, and how do y'all feel about the silence so far?
The silence doesn't bother me, because I understand that I think he would be foolish to make a move right now. I think at a brokered convention, that's when you're going to need Barack Obama. He's going to have to, and I do think it will be a brokered convention. You're going to need Barack Obama to say, look, if this candidate has the largest number of votes, you've got to throw in the towel. You're going to need an elder statesman of that sort, basically, making the decision. And post Democratic convention, the very point that you just made, the very point, he's going to have to go out, and he will, according to an Atlantic article.
If his book is done.
If his book is done, that you will see Barack Obama from late July until November.
We'll Paul, what do you
on the
say?
campaign trail.
Well,
Philip
I think
is
there's
convinced.
just something about a general election that's so clarifying. You get two choices, and you got to get 270 electoral votes. You got to win a majority, so you have two choices. For all these people on the left who say they're going to sit out, they have a choice. They have Bernie Sanders and Trump, if that's a choice. Are they going to jump over and vote for Trump? No, they're going to vote for the guy who's closest to them. And same thing for the Pete Buttigieg supporters and Klobuchar and so forth. They've got a choice. Support Bernie, who's tainted in their view, but the question is, are they going to jump over the side? Same for all these Trump people, the Republicans. Lots of Republicans, conservatives have a problem with Trump. Now, the point is they're going to vote for Trump. They're going to hold their nose maybe, but they're going to vote for Trump because they're not going to jump all the way over to the other side and vote for Bernie Sanders. And to me, there's a certain clarity. There's a way in which the fact that we have a presidential system, you get one choice. It's not a parliamentary system. You don't get to vote for a million parties. You get one guy and the guy or woman, and they got to get 270 electoral votes. They got to get a majority. Has a clarifying capacity. It defines the choices for the electorate. And either you sit it out or you say, I have a little bit of, if you're a Pete Buttigieg supporter and not so happy with Bernie, you say, you know what, I have a choice between Bernie and Donald Trump. Who am I going to vote for? And I'm going to guess they're going to vote for Bernie.
Well, let me just pick up on that before I ask this next Facebook question, which is, there were a lot of people that stayed home. Does the shocking impact of the Donald Trump legacy now get those people off the couch?
I think you got it. I think the one thing that will boost turnout, and I predict we're going to have huge turnout in 2020, is Donald Trump. Donald Trump will be the factor that will bring out, I don't know if he'll bring out rallies and all of that, but he's going to bring out a turnout because people are going to sit this election out. I don't think they're going to sit back and say it doesn't matter who the president is, that Donald Trump, and at times you could say that, but I don't think this is one.
All right, and y'all weren't really clear about what you think about his outreach. I mean, you in general, but I mean the impact of his outreach. I mean, it is possible. Van Jones said the other day, it's credible. He could get a few percentage points, which is all he needs.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't even need a few percentage points. He just needs to dissuade a few of them from voting for the Democrat. He just needs them to stay home.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
Okay.
He doesn't even need them to vote for him. He just needs to develop enough distrust in the Democratic Party to where they say, either way, I'm in a terrible predicament. So why even vote in this system?
But Politico just announced, reported that he's filling up these empty community centers with spaces to sell merchandise that say, with hats that talk about Black Voices for Trump. They're selling some of it. They're giving something else away. Politico also
They're giving
reported.
away money.
Well, I know. I was about to say that. Politico also reported that at some of the gatherings they're giving away money. So, I mean, this is many places.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump does have policies to run on that can be appealing to the African American community. Mm-hmm. So, as he's been saying since he first stepped into office, this is the lowest level of black unemployment in history. He is the president that signed significant criminal justice reform. He is in support of school vouchers and school choice, which is very popular amongst African Americans. He is a pro-life candidate, and African Americans do support pro-life. And so he is a candidate on the issues that does resonate with a large percentage of the African American community. The other thing to note, he won 8% of the vote in 2016. That's much more than Romney and McCain, but they were running against an African-American candidate. George W. Bush, on average, had about 10% of the black vote. So this is normal. There's about 10 percentage points of the black vote that tend to support the Republican candidate. So all he is attempting to do is to be a normal Republican candidate.
Gotcha.
Whether or not he's normal is still in question. I don't think he is, and I think there will be a decrease in the level of black support going forward. If you just look at his approval ratings, you look at the incendiary language that he's used regarding African Americans over time, about Africa, the continent, about African American leaders. These are all things that the black community will remember, and I think there will be a reckoning.
And he added Nigeria to the travel ban.
That's right. Well, I was going to mention that.
issue.
You raised an interesting question because I was thinking, as you're talking, I was thinking about two African American women right after the 2016 election, Muslim women. I was at the Elliott Street Church at an event.
Here in Boston.
That's right, in Boston. And I was asking the audience, I'm saying, who did not vote in this past election? These two women, Muslim women, raised their hands. I said, why didn't you vote? I said, because I didn't want to. And I'm so curious. I'd love to get in touch with them, and I'm hoping they're watching this tonight. I'd love to know how they're going to, or if they're going to vote in 2020, given the Muslim ban. Given that Donald Trump has done everything he said he was going to do to aggrieved people, he has done and more. And their feeling was that it didn't make a difference.
Yes,
and the
there were a lot of
question
people that
becomes,
said that.
and the question becomes, does it? And for people in 2020, has the equation changed?
That's what I was asking.
Well,
Was the legacy-
exactly.
yeah, right.
And my feeling is that I think that this gentleman are absolutely correct. I think it's changed to the degree where people see more that Donald Trump meant exactly what he said he was going to do. When he said he was going to close borders, when he said he was going to try to stop Muslims from coming into the country, when he didn't talk about putting kids in cages, but he has done that. And also, the Justice Department is actually, in many ways, regardless of what talk about criminal reform, has become more conservative, has become more problematic in terms of the conditions of incarcerated people in this country. Efforts in Florida to even after voters voted in Florida to allow franchisement, like of former inmates, to basically push The GOP now pushing,
That's
having
why he's
pushed for
popular, Philip. All the
disenfranchisement.
reasons you've
Yes,
said. That's why he's
exactly.
popular with everybody
Yeah,
else.
right, exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
So I
but
think
I
that-
wouldn't worry about Muslims for Trump being a big group. I think they could meet in a Volkswagen, probably.
Indeed,
they don't
indeed.
need to have any
But
big
symbolically-
calls. Or
But
anything.
log cabin Republicans are for Trump. So listen.
Well, no, a
I'm
lot of
just
people.
saying.
A lot of people have quit the log cabin club. Also.
Some, but not everybody.
Yes.
I don't think we can overestimate, though, how much people follow the news and are keeping track of a lot of the things that Trump is saying and doing. I mean, there are folks, obviously, who are going to watch CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and are following closely the actions of the president. But there are some people, when you ask them what they think about Donald Trump, top of the head, you know, he was a celebrity. He was an icon.
That's right.
You know, he was a cultural figure in the African American community. He was on an episode of Fresh Prince. That's where I first remember him.
He was on the Method Man.
So, you know, his appeal and his valence is more complicated than I think it appears, and that's why he doesn't give up on some voters, because some voters know him as the guy whose name is on the Trump Tower.
Exactly.
And
All right.
you cannot devalue that.
I have one 10-second answer for all of you from this Facebook question. Who is the candidate, in your opinion, at this moment, least appealing to African American voters? This is 10 seconds, Philip.
Does Trump count?
Least appealing.
No, not Trump on the Democratic side.
Least appealing, I think, is probably either Pete or Amy.
Okay. Yes.
Tulsi Gabbard.
I think Mike Bloomberg should be, but
Okay, we're not
I
doing
agree. I agree
aspirational.
with Philip. I agree with Philip.
Okay.
I would say, Gabbard.
Okay. All right. I don't even think a lot of people even know she's still in the race, but
Yeah.
be that as it may. That's how we're ending it, because we're out of time. And I thank you for all of your insights and analysis.
Thank you.